Interesting fight, Matt, coming up at 115 pounds between Shockwave, Hannah Cifers, and Mallory Martin. And Matt, Hannah Cifers not on a good run as of late. She's lost 3 in a row, but to good names. They really are. I mean, you look at it, Angela Hill was the first one. That was a tough one because it was at home in North Carolina, but Hannah Cifers, a sucker for punishment, comes right back out, fights again against Mackenzie Dern, loses that fight and says, well, give me one more up a weight class against Maria Agapova. Now, Matt, I got done shitting bricks because, again, I said Maria Agapova was going to steamroll Shanna Dobson. Kudos to Shanna Dobson. Apologies due to the teacher. Great win there, but Hannah Cifers against Agapova really didn't have an answer, and Agapova looked great in that fight, which lent credence to the fact that she was almost a 2,000-1 favorite, but leveled off around a 1,500 or 1,600 in her last fight and lost. But Hannah Cifers, she's fought good competition. She has some decent wins so far in the UFC. Mallory Martin coming in here, her one fight in the UFC, a loss, a second-round rear naked choke to Verna Jandiroba, who we've seen, I mean, former Invicta champ. She picked up a big win in her last fight, which was just in the last number of weeks. Mallory Martin training out of American Kickboxing. She's trained at some really good gyms in the States, and we could go on and on about the accolades for Mallory Martin. You might also recognize her from her win on Dana White's Contender Series over Nicole DeSegni. That was a big win in terms of star power, so good win there. Didn't get the contract, fought with Invicta, and then came into the fight against Jandiroba. A good way to get your foot in the door. Martin has a really good opportunity to beat somebody that has a fair bit of UFC experience, and you might think Hannah Cifers, she really hasn't been in the UFC all that long, but she just keeps fighting. Very, very active. So I know she's on a 3-fight losing streak. It is the good competition. For Hannah Cifers, she is versed on the ground, but we just haven't seen it in the UFC. If she's on top, landing ground and pound, for a much smaller fighter, she's a fighter that to look at her and to look at the stats, well, maybe she's an atom weight.
I was about to say.
And it's weird that she fought at 25, I know, short notice, and wanted to take a fight soon after the Dern fight because she didn't take a lot of damage, per se, in that fight. Even though she lost by finish, Hannah Cifers, for her, the bread and butter is the stand-up and just the boxing and the pressure. When Hannah Cifers has success, it's peppering in the ground and pound if she can get the fight down there. It's really trying to put together combinations on the feet. Mallory Martin, maybe we'll leave her head in there to get hit, and we've seen that in some of her fights. She had a salty start to her career, but she's fought good competition, a really positive differential in terms of the wins and losses against opponents when she made her way into the UFC. And if you really look at it, her ground game is where she can really shine. She does a lot of the same things well, but when she's on top, landing that ground and pound, look out, Mallory Martin. Matt, what do you make of this one?
So that is the compelling part about this fight, because both fighters' strengths play into the other one's weakness. You had mentioned it with Mallory Martin's head movement. It leaves a lot to be desired. Hannah Cifers, her game plan is the Shannon Sharp game plan. Got to put them tangs on her. And Hannah Cifers has good boxing for the division. Now, her wins are against Jodie Esquibel and Polyana Viana. Jodie Esquibel, I've said my number on her on this podcast. Not one of the higher skilled women's MMA fighters that you'll ever see. Polyana Viana, it was a good win though, because at least it showed that Hannah Cifers can stick in there with some women who they have kind of a multifaceted MMA game. Because Viana, for as disappointing as her MMA or at least her UFC run has been, Hannah Cifers was able to show some really good points in that fight. She was able to drop her. She was able to stay on top. But Mallory Martin, the pace that she's able to keep up, the wrestling that she has, and just her overall ground game, especially on top, is going to give Hannah Cifers a lot of trouble. Because with Hannah Cifers, we've seen it. If Angela Hill's able to go out there and easily get single legs on you, and Angela Hill's very much known for, Muay Thai or distance striking, if she's able to really get the better of you on the ground, I think Mallory Martin should be able to pull off the same game plan.
And it's an interesting fight, and I kind of buried it in there, but they have a former common opponent, and it's Macy Barber. Now, for Hannah Cifers, it's on the world stage against Macy Barber. For Mallory Martin, maybe not in the spotlight as much. So she lost to her in 2017. That one by decision. For Cifers, lost by TKO when Barber shine, couldn't be matched really at the time. And then all of a sudden, in steps Roxanne Modafferi. Now, in terms of this fight, this is the most surprising change in odds that I've seen on this entire card. Mallory Martin opened as a plus 145 underdog. That line, somebody hit that so hard really quick. She's a minus 320 favorite now. Hannah Cifers open minus 170, currently sitting at a plus 250 underdog. That's insane. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that where there was such a quick correction. Again, it's very interesting. Over on Tapology, at 743 votes, 78% going Martin, 83% going by decision. I think everybody is right that went with Martin by decision. I really think it's one of those fights. There's definitely, and it's one that Hannah Cifers a plus 250. You want to take a flyer there, by all means, go ahead. Cifers has good stand up, and I think this is a fight where this is an opportunity that Hannah Cifers very well could get back on the horse. If Mallory Martin leaves her head up there, there's an opportunity. But the other thing is she's been training. She's been training at AKA. She's not shuffle overhand right.
Hannah Cifers does have prime Vanderlei power. That's something we do forget sometimes.
Either way, there's an opportunity for Cifers, but I do see this personally as an opportunity for Martin, and one that will be fruitful. And I think Martin's going to be able to get the win. I could see her winning by decision as well. It's an interesting fight because you kind of wonder, this is one of those fights that sets up seeding in one of the busiest divisions in women's MMA. This fight, of course, at strawweight, Cifers popping back down after a brief stay at 125.
Mallory Martin's going to have to do what Daniel Cormier a term that Daniel Cormier coined a long time ago, embrace the grind. And that's really how she's going to have to fight this fight. Go for the takedown, really have that dirty boxing, heavy style. Go for the takedowns against the cage. Really drain Hannah Cifers as much as possible. Because Hannah Cifers, we had mentioned, she's basically an atom weight fighting up constantly at different weight classes. But she does carry around quite a bit of muscle for the weight division. Because you can tell that's kind of the only way that she could really gain weight to match these women physically. Was just, okay, gain as much muscle as possible. Try to sort of outpower some of them. And I think that'll work to her detriment because she doesn't have the best cardio in the world. So if Mallory Martin can get those takedowns early, really enforce some of her game, especially early on in the fight, and make Hannah Cifers kind of hesitant to really let her hands fly, because every single time she's going to go for a strike, if at least the threat of the takedowns there, she won't really get her combinations going. So yeah, I think Mallory Martin's got this one in the bag.
Matt, really looking forward to this card. Both going with Mallory Martin to get the win. You're going to want to keep it locked in because we have an extended preview of our main event. It's a 3-rounder. You have Rakic, you have Smith. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.